Alright, so the Blaze Fenix OTK is one of the few hero-centric decks that's not affected by the Stratos ban, because it doesn't require Stratos at all. In fact, the only heroes it really relies on is Electrum, and Clayman, Blasternix, Avian, and Bubbleman. So anyways, I'll go through the deck profile and then I'll explain how it works. So we got one Clayman, Blasternix, Avian, one UFO-roid, one Bubbleman, triple Volcanic Shell, triple Cyber Valley, one Day of Peace, triple Upstart Goblin, triple Terraform, triple Dark World, triple Into the Void, triple Duality, one Hand Destruction, triple Shard of Greed, triple Fusion Gate, triple Chain Material, and triple Dark Bribe. Then we have 3 Electrum, 3 UFO-roids, UFO-roid Fighter, triple Blaze Phoenix, triple Nova Master, 1 Shining, and double Ignition Beast Volcananon. So what this deck revolves around is using Fusion Gate and Chain Material, and that's all you need to start off the combo. Get out of Fusion Gate and activate Chain Material. If you can get that off, you've pretty much won, because this loop allows you to do an infinite amount of effect damage to your opponent in one turn using Blaze Phoenix. Blaze Phoenix requires 1 machine type and 1 pyro type monster. With Chain Material, you can fusion summon them from the deck, or the grave, or your hand, or the field. It literally does not matter where they are, as long as they're not already banished. And Fusion Gate will just banish them for you. You can bring out Blaze Phoenix 3 times with 1 Volcanic Shell and 1 Cyber Valley. These are the 2 best monsters to use for it. Pyro Monster, because this guy, you can add 1 to your hand from your deck, like while you're going through the phase of trying to set up the combo. And Cyber Valley is a good stall card with the machine type. Also, UFO-roid can be used as a machine type, but what he's used for is pretty much recycling Electrum with UFO-roid. But you can also recycle Electrum with Nova Master, so he's not really needed, but it's a nice backup, but you can just replace it with another Hand Destruction if you wanted. So yeah, it's all about getting Blaze Phoenix out. He does 300 points of damage to your opponent for every card on the field, and it doesn't really matter how many cards are on the field, as long as you have at least 1, him himself, because he counts as a card on the field, plus you'll have Fusion Gate out, because you need it for this combo. You always do at least 600 points of damage. It'll just take a little bit longer to go off, but you can still get it. This guy right here, 1 machine, 1 pyro type, he has the same exact requirements as Blaze Phoenix, and what he does is he can destroy one of your opponent's monsters. So if your opponent has a really high attack monster, you can just use him first to do a nice chunk of effect damage, and then he'll just go to the grave. And then you can just use him later, since he's a machine type, with one of your Volcanic Shells, or even with this guy, the Pyro Bird, to bring out another one, since he himself is Pyro. So this is a nice card here. You only need 1. I just had to try it out. 2, DevPro has this annoying thing where this guy shows up first on the list when you're going for the fusion summons. So I was thinking about just taking out Nova Master and Volcanic just so I could scroll to it faster, but that's really not worth it. Yeah, so you use Blaze Phoenix 3 times, and then you want to banish the Blaze Phoenixes by bringing them out with, actually, how do you do it? You bring out 2 Blaze Phoenixes, and then you use one of the Blaze Phoenixes with another card to bring out the 3rd one, and then you can use Electrum to, with the 3 heroes, to return all the Blaze Phoenixes back to the deck, and then you bring out the other 2, and then you confuse Electrum with either UFO-roid to bring out this guy, that way Electrum gets removed from play, or Electrum with Blaze Phoenix, to bring out Nova Master. That way they both get removed from play, and then you bring out a 2nd Electrum, which will return the 1st Electrum to the extra deck, along with all your Blaze Phoenixes. And that's what allows you to continue the loop, is because Electrum, when he's special summoned, you have to return all removed from play monsters to the deck. So with 2 Electrums, you can infinitely cycle through Blaze Phoenix and just keep summoning them as much as you want, because Fusion Gate can be used as many times as you want per turn, and Chain Material allows you to use them as much as you want, but they can't attack and they get destroyed at the end of the turn, which is fine for this deck. And the deck is all about draw power, except it's not typical draw power, because this deck revolves heavily around 2 cards, which can be easily stopped by MST. And everyone and their mom is running 3 MSTs now, so that's the only reason Shard of Greed is in this deck. Basically, it's a draw card, and it's not a half-bad draw card, but what it's really in here for is to bait out an MST, because your opponent is going to see, ooh, a Shard of Greed. Why don't I waste my MST on that? That way they can't, you know, hit my face-down chain material, or hit Fusion Gate on my turn when I start the combo. And that's also what the Dark Bribe is there for. Triple Dark Bribe, because you don't care how many cards your opponent has in their hand, you just don't want them to destroy chain material before you have a chance to activate it, or for them to MST Fusion Gate while you're getting the combo off. Because if they stop Fusion Gate, you're dead. If they destroy chain material before your next turn, you're dead. That's why Pot of Duality is fine in this deck, because you still have to wait a turn. It's not an FTK deck, because the deck revolves around using a trap card, so you have to wait till your next turn regardless. Although there is an FTK version, but it sucks. It basically requires Bubble Man and using Bubble Illusion. That allows you to activate one trap card from your hand, but it's so ridiculous that it's not worth it. This version is a lot more consistent, because Upstart Goblin, since you can do an infinite amount of effect damage to your opponent, it doesn't matter what your opponent's life points are, so 3 Upstart Goblin is awesome in this deck. Into the Void, it doesn't matter what cards you have in your hand, because you want the cards out on the field. You can just set a Fusion Gate so you don't risk your opponent accidentally activating a field spell card over it. Just activate on your turn. You can set it, it won't be destroyed if they activate a field spell. Same thing with chain material, you just set it. Basically, you only need these 2 cards to get the combo off, and they can both be set on the field, so Into the Void's fine. Pot of Duality, you can't start the combo to your next turn, so it's a great way to search out one of these cards. Hand Destruction is also really good in this deck, because all the monster cards are absolutely fine in the graveyard. That's why you can put in 3 if you want, but I opted in to use Shard of Greed to try to bait MSTs. Because if it does survive a turn, it turns hand neutral, like an Upstart Goblin. If you want to let it sit out for 2 turns and really try to bait an MST, that's fine. You can go into a +1. And this is like really the only deck where it's good, because you want to bait out those MSTs or Dust Tornadoes or something. And Dark Bribe is there just in case they don't take the bait with the Shard of Greed. And Dark World Dealings, because it's just a 1-for-1. I could probably, Dark World Dealings a little bit safer just in case your opponent doesn't have cards in their hand, because you need your opponent to have at least 2 cards in their hand to activate Hand Destruction. Dark World Dealings, you don't need them to have any cards in their hand to activate it. That's the only reason I have that over it, because I still have so much more draw power. If I wasn't able to use Into the Void, Duality, and Upstart, I would probably substitute the Dark World Dealings for 3 Hand Destructions, because it's a little bit faster. But since I can run all the good spell cards that allow you to draw cards in this deck, yeah, Dark World Dealing over Hand Destruction. But if you don't want to have the bait card out, Shard of Greed, that's literally all he's there for, is to bait, then you can just take out 2 of those and put in 2 more Hand Destructions. And maybe put in like a, field barrier to protect Fusion Gate if you want, but I don't think that's necessary, because field barrier can also possibly bait out an MST, but Shard of Greed is just MST bait. And that's it. This deck is actually very fast, and it's really not hard to win in a turn or 2 with this deck. It's actually really good, like surprisingly good. This is probably one of the best OTK decks out there right now, but it's so easily stopped by an MST that anyone with half a brain would side in all cards that destroy your Fusion Gate, because that's the best way to stop it, is just to destroy Fusion Gate, or stop chain material with a Trap Stun or a Royal Decree. It's kind of easy to stop once you know what it is, but if you don't know what it is, it's really hard to stop. And of course, if you're going into a match, you obviously want to side out the 3 Shard of Greed, since the bait's not going to work anymore.